Hello, parents, teachers, students, and staff. I am Dr. Kalinda Ray, a licensed psychologist in the state of Texas. We are facing a challenging time in our country and in our world. As a mental health professional, I would like to offer support and encouragement. So today I will be presenting you some tips and tools on how to recognize and manage stress during this time. As we endure the current COVID-19 pandemic, our children are out of school, parents are working from home, and some have lost their jobs or experiencing a significant disruption of their business operations. More sadly, we have families who have been directly impacted by the virus, either through illness or death. For our children, they may be experiencing different stress reactions. This is the first national international crisis they have experienced. Most of our high school seniors weren't even born or were very young and do not remember 9/11 and its aftermath. It's important to not only tune your radar to recognize your own personal stress responses and their impact on functioning, but to have a toolbox of strategies for managing or coping with the stress you and your children may be experiencing. My objectives for this lecture are to provide education on the effects of crisis and symptoms of stress, provide information to parents on ways to improve parent-child interactions during this challenging time. That will include offering ways to communicate effectively to your child about what is happening in the world. I will also provide effective coping and stress management strategies for parents and your children during times of crisis. Finally, the hope is that this presentation will help you to establish and maintain optimal health and wellness during what is naturally a stressful time for everyone. Let's talk about how crisis affects us, and I will reference the effects of COVID-19, but this can of course be applied to other personal and public crises as well. Symptoms and effects are going to fall within a range, and this is why I presented a continuum here from mild to severe. Some of us may notice more stress reactions as a result of the current COVID-19 crisis, and some of us may not have any signs or symptoms at all. Either you do exceptionally well and remain relatively calm when faced with uncertainty, or you internalize your concerns, which can even be more damaging. It's important to be honest about the impact that this has on you, even if it's mild. More than likely, this crisis has affected us all in some way, whether mild or severe. I can imagine parents are particularly stressed because their children are now at home and needing assistance with school lessons and technology. Some of you probably have to make up your own lessons, especially for young children. This is not your usual routine. So the initial impact you may see as a result of the crisis is probably some shock, but what's more apparent is your routine has been altered. You may be home yourselves and trying to balance your own work while attending to your child's needs. COVID-19 and social distancing not only keeps us more confined, we are experiencing changes in our social interaction. We cannot frequent the gym or our favorite restaurants or engage in common self-care activities such as going to the salon or to the barbershop. For those that appreciate pure solitude and limited social interaction, this may be welcomed. But for those of us who are used to constant social activity, we may be struggling a little bit. We cannot see our families, and outings with our friends are temporarily halted. This is especially detrimental to our children, who are used to socializing daily. Social interaction is an important developmental process for our children, and this disruption will certainly cause significant stress. As you move down the continuum, you will notice that other stress reactions will emerge. They're going to be in the form of physical, emotional, and behavioral responses, which I will explain in more detail in the next slide. These stress reactions may lead to feelings of loss. There's job loss, loss of relationships, financial loss, physical losses. We may move through usual stages of grief during this time. Further down the continuum, we may experience more significant impacts such as losing our jobs and disruption of physical stability, such as in our homes or our workspaces. Then we will start to see some changes in our physical and emotional functioning. This is different than having normal stress reactions. This is when there's a prolonged distress, which may warrant professional assistance. One will start to engage in unhealthy coping behaviors, such as increased drug and alcohol use, self-harm, loss of interest, or withdrawal. As we get to the end of the continuum, you will see more significant impact of stress. And that may be, that may show up in the form of verbal and physical abuse, aggression, or violence. Or there is a loss of a loved one. You want to catch stress reactions when they're relatively mild. If this stress goes unaddressed for too long, there will be an escalation forward to more serious behavioral responses. I want to briefly speak about our stress reaction, which is a universal human response to danger or significant life changes. I presented here a simplified and modified explanation of stress reactions, and it's a combination of different stress reaction theories, and it shows you how stress reaction escalates. We are faced with a stressor, in this case, COVID-19 or the coronavirus. This stressor is causing all the effects that I just described in the earlier slide. However, this stressor will often cause the same stress response in most people. How it escalates will be entirely within our control. So a reaction will more than likely start with our bodies. We are taking in information about the happenings of the world, and we are processing accordingly. Some of us may have some general worries, some of us will actually have panic, but more than likely, your body is responding. You may experience heart palpitations, minor headaches and stomach aches, just a sense of uneasiness. It may be difficult to shut your mind off. However, you still get up and go to work, get your kids ready for school, complete your day as normal. But there's this small pit in your stomach that remains. This is probably the perfect time to incorporate some stress management activities in your routine. However, many people ignore these initial signs, thinking it's temporary, and because their routine hasn't really changed, they may feel no intervention is necessary. A few days or a week may pass, and then you start to notice your mood changing. You are on edge somewhat. You are sharply responding to others. Your worry is a little more constant, and you are more concerned about what's going on. You are feeling confused, angry, and even fearful. Every little thing may bother you. Again, this is a prime time for self-care, seeking out support, and engaging in activities which would relieve your stress. If not, then these symptoms further manifest and will either turn inward or turn outward. Either way, you are embarking on dangerous territory. Poor and unhealthy coping strategies are damaging to your mental and physical health. Drugs, alcohol, tobacco, unhealthy eating, lack of exercise, poor sleep have its long-term consequences. Lack of motivation, low energy, loss of interest, poor concentration, focus are all signs of impaired functioning. The more dangerous reactions to stress are aggression, whether it be verbal or physical, and thoughts of self-harm are actually engaging in self-harm, which has more lasting and permanent impact. We have heard of the increase in physical violence in our homes since the onset of this pandemic. More than likely, a person's inability to effectively manage their stress and anger has led them to snap and become violent or aggressive. I want to address some common questions that may come up during this time. So, in order to help you with recognizing stress, I'm going to present this question of, how do I know I am stressed? So the first way you know that you're stressed is what your body is saying. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration provides some tips for recognizing signs of stress. First, are physiological symptoms, what your body is doing. And as I've mentioned before, it's important to recognize these early signs when they occur. So these physiological symptoms include headaches, stomach aches, increase or loss of appetite, sweating or chills, tremors or muscle twitches, you're easily startled, and then finally sleep disruption. Now, you may be thinking there is something physically wrong with you, and you are apt to make a doctor's appointment at this time. I never want to deter anyone from going to the doctor because we always want to rule out a new health concern. However, if you don't have a history of these problems and you're up to date on your physicals, this sudden onset coinciding with a trauma or crisis event, the symptoms are more than likely psychological, or what we call in the mental health world somatic. Your doctor may tell you that this is just a result of stress or anxiety and will refer you to see someone. If you continue to have these problems long after the crisis is over and you are actively engaging in a good stress management routine, then you may want to visit your doctor again or make a doctor's appointment or see someone for therapy or counseling. Keeping with the same question of how do I know I am stressed, it's also important to pay attention to your emotions. So we've already discussed some common emotions of anxiety or fear, or even some depression, some anger, sadness as a result of this crisis. But I want to talk to you a little bit about guilt today, because as parents and caregivers, we often feel guilt in our everyday lives because we are taking care of other people. We are responsible for other people. Guilt is a dynamic within our relationships. We will always want to be our very best, but probably during this time, you're not your best. You are battling between taking care of yourself and taking care of others. You don't want to seem selfish. You may also blame yourself for your family's functioning. If you're struggling financially, if your child is not responding well to homeschooling, if their behaviors are changing, if they show any signs of illness, or you're not paying enough attention to your partner or your spouse. You're probably feeling responsible, which then leads to guilt. Guilt is a manufactured emotion. It's a product of our own unhealthy thinking process. We must get our guilt under control, and that's accomplished by letting go of control. You cannot control every outcome during this time. You cannot control how the economy fluctuates. You can't control how much food is in the stores. You can't control the spread of this virus outside of you practicing good hygiene or practicing social distancing. More importantly, you cannot control your family's reaction to the crisis. What you can control is your own reactions. So let's first get rid of the guilt and tell yourself you are doing the best you can during these uncertain times. I can sort of relate because you go to the store and you see that the common household items you cannot find, such as toilet paper. So what do? We go to the next store and see if they have toilet paper. We go to the drugstore and see if they have toilet paper. We go to the Dollar Tree and see if they have toilet paper. And as we go from store to store to store, we are becoming more frustrated, more stressed. So my recommendation is go to one store, no toilet paper, let the toilet paper thing go for the day. You cannot control how much toilet paper is in the store or how much someone buys. If you are lucky, you may walk into the store like I did one day after a few days of looking for toilet paper, and you go into Target in the morning and ta-da, the store clerk is putting toilet paper on the shelves. I was able to grab 12 rows of toilet paper. But had I continued my quest of trying to find toilet paper, trying to find one roll here, 2 rolls here, I would have felt frustrated. And if I went home empty-handed, then the guilt then sets in. So we have to let go that there are things that are outside of our control. Remember, these emotions are typical. If you notice feeling any of these emotions more days than not, then it's time to act. Please also recognize your changes in behavior. Remember, once you get to this point, this is called a disruption in functioning, and seeking help is usually the best next step. So these behaviors that you may commonly see during stressful times are an increase or decrease in energy, loss of interest or pleasure in once enjoyable activities, irritability, anger outbursts, crying frequently, excessive worry, wanting to be alone, difficulty communicating or listening, or having difficulty accepting help. These behaviors are more typical of an anxiety or depressive episode, but are completely normal reactions to stress or trauma. These are definitely self-explanatory, but unhealthy coping behaviors are your go-to activities in times of stress. It's important to do a self-assessment of what is healthy and unhealthy. Having a loved one tell you it's unhealthy is not enough. There will need to be self-motivation to transition to a more healthier lifestyle. Of course, occasional engagement may not be harmful, but when drinking and smoking every day becomes a habit, that behavior will take its toll on our minds and our bodies. I will talk about the importance of sleep in a later slide. Finally, we must pay attention to our thoughts, as they are the contributors to our feelings and behaviors. Our mind and bodies are interconnected, and psychological functioning will likely have an effect on our physical functioning. Stress often compromises our immune system, impacts our energy level. You may experience hair loss or skin breakouts, definitely affects sleep and appetite. Again, it is very important not to mistake these physical changes with a serious illness. It's okay to consult with your physician, but you want to definitely assess your current stress and anxiety levels. Are you currently worried more than usual? Try to understand how this crisis is affecting your thoughts. What are you telling yourself about the crisis? Make sure you are realistic in your thinking. It's hard not to catastrophize during this pandemic. I am really aware of that. When you begin feeling panic, it may be time to turn off the TV, or go for a walk, or engage in a pleasurable activity. Constant bombardment of negative information and energy is going to have an effect on your thoughts. You do not want to be consumed with the vision of something bad happening to you and your family at all times. Negative thoughts lead to confusion and loss of concentration and focus, which will impact your ability to complete tasks or make reasonable decisions. I want to switch gears a little and talk about what stress may look like in your children. So the next question is, how is my child affected by this crisis? Your child's reactions to stress may look a little different than yours. There are some similarities, but adults have an ability to communicate their thoughts and feelings more easily than children. Children have yet to really master this skill. Most adults, not all, will feel comfortable processing this crisis with their friends and family and other members of their support system. Children and adolescents, on the other hand, have different ways of coping with these changes. They are responding to our stress level, even if you're trying to shield or protect them as much as possible. You are going to see different responses depending on your child's age. So let's start with our infants to 3-year-old children. Your infant or toddler is going to have a stress reaction even though they have no clue on what's going on. They are having a reaction because you are having a reaction, because you are stressed and your routine has likely changed. Now, this does not mean it's time for guilt to set in. Remember what I said about guilt. But you want to make sure you are doing what you can to reduce your stress levels. Infants and toddlers will likely to show you they are stressed by their mood and their behavior. They may be fussy and irritable. Their sleep may be disturbed a little more than normal, but sleep routine may be just off a little. There may be some finicky eating. They may be a little bit more clingy and crying and want you to be around a little bit more. As we switch to our 3 to 6 year olds, children children also feel guilt, unfortunately. So they're going to experience the irritability, the fussiness, frequent awakenings, appetite changes, but you're going to see these feelings of guilt. And I definitely despise guilt, and I especially do not like that children feel these manufactured feelings early in life. But just a quick developmental lesson. Children at this age cannot see beyond themselves. Not in a selfish way, but in an inability to understand the origins of others' feelings. So when we are sad or angry, children will usually think they have done something wrong. And because they don't know yet how to fix it, there's a sense of helplessness that they are feeling, which may lead to fear and confusion. At this age, children who experience stress will also have some separation anxiety. You may see bedwetting and possible night terrors because they don't know how to appropriately use their words. You may also see more aggression and defiance. Now we get into our preteen years. Children in this age group feel the same feelings of fear and confusion, but are more likely to communicate them in more concrete ways. They are still feeling blame and guilt, but as they get closer to 12 years old, they may process their parents' feelings a little differently. I think preteen years are the best years of communication and emotional expression. These preteens, they say anything, and they'll talk to you about anything. But we need to remain aware of their maturity level and their level of processing. So we need to explain things in such a way or encourage discussions that are age appropriate. Finally, our teenagers. It may be the most difficult to understand what our teenagers are feeling due to their normal methods of communicating, hormonal changes. It's just this developmental period is just difficult to have relationships with our teenagers. But we want to pay more attention to our teens' behaviors than what they're saying. Changes in their activity level and social interaction are crucial signs of distress. If your teen is normally a good communicator, then avoiding communication and withdrawal are concerning. You also want to be concerned about your normally quiet teenager too. They are already internalizing their feelings, and this crisis may take them more into their head, and unhealthy coping can emerge. Children of all ages will definitely feel the effects of not being in school and interacting with their friends. So, social interaction for children is so important. So children at every age is going to have some sort of stress or reaction to not being around other kids. So they're going to exhibit these behaviors because of not being in school. The next important question is, how do I speak with my child about this crisis? Again, we will break this down by age. So your infant and toddler will not understand what's going on right now. Attending to young children, as you know, can cause exhaustion already. So when stressed, it causes even more emotional and physical depletion. Routines are likely to be altered, and managing your stress and keeping a normal routine is the best way to keep your toddler stress-free. So make sure you are utilizing your support systems as much as you can. Playing and spending time with your toddler may help with instilling hope, and it's a good distraction for you. For your 3 to 6 year olds, again, they will not understand how this crisis is affecting others, but will understand how it directly affects them. Assure them that your own sadness or anger is not their fault. Provide them a sense of comfort and emotional safety. Keep their environment safe. Maintain or increase affection, such as more hugging, more sitting close to one another, have them on your lap. Talk to them in a soft tone. You can tell them the truth, but in a language that they understand. For example, you may want to say, school is closed because people in the world are getting sick, and we're trying to keep all the kids safe and healthy. If they ask you, will I get sick? You say, well, no, that's why we have to stay home, so we won't get sick. But we will be able to leave our home soon. Tell them that this is not going to last forever, and that they will eventually get to go back to school and see their friends. Show them that you are not scared, and that all will be well soon. If you do know someone who is sick, you want to emphasize that we have doctors and nurses who are doing everything that they can to keep us well. You may want to ask the child to draw a picture or make a special craft for that family member or friend, so when they see them again, he or she can give it to them. It gives them a sort of a sense of control. The most important thing for you to do is to not show any panic. Assume your preteens and teens are speaking with their friends about what's going on, even though they may not be speaking to you extensively about it. You want to know what they know and who is telling them the information. Children at this age are battling with the good people do bad things and the bad people do good things concept, as well as bad things can happen to good people. Just because we do everything to remain safe, we may still get hurt. When this happens, self-blame will occur. A child sees his or her parent become irritable, start yelling and screaming, and they may think it's their fault because it's unusual or infrequent. A child may also believe they are not doing enough. It's okay to explain why unpredictable events occur. Be honest, and again reassure that you are safe and healthy due to the behaviors you are exhibiting. It's important to be realistic. Being outside does not necessarily mean they will get sick, but staying inside as much as possible will be most helpful to remain healthy and keep others healthy. Again, tell them it's temporary. Now, your teens are thinking more abstractly and can have empathy towards others' reactions to the crisis. So they are trying to understand their feelings as well as the feelings of their friends. This again can cause some confusion if reactions are different. This is a time to encourage your teenager to talk about their understanding of the crisis and their feelings about it. Be aware of your own nonverbal messages. Be compassionate and understanding and objective. Your teen may not feel the same way as you about the crisis, but again, be honest and realistic. Allow them to figure out the best decisions as well. So asking them questions such as, what do you think you should do in this situation? What is the best decision to make? What are your responsibilities to remain safe and healthy? It's important to not always give them the answers or tell them what to do. You want your teen to figure things out on their own. Become more independent in their thinking about the situation. If your child asks you to discuss what is going on, have that conversation. Do not ignore the request. This will foster healthy communication and relationships that will hopefully endure for the rest of their lives. Whatever age, there are appropriate ways to discuss these events with your child. When asked questions or having discussions about their crisis with your children, it's important you are in a calm state, are not distracted with other responsibilities. If you are not, assure them, provide some comfort or a hug, and let your child know, hey, I want to talk with you about this, and I'm going to set time aside later today to answer any questions you may have. Here are some examples of conversation starters with your preteens and teens. Make sure you keep these questions open-ended. Okay, back to you and your stress management. Let's answer the question, how do I manage my own stress during this time? I know I speak a lot about routine, only because you've worked so hard to establish a routine for yourself and your family. Do not allow a crisis to alter that routine too much. Yes, you and your children are home and you can't go many places, but that doesn't mean you have to change the way you eat, the way you sleep, and how much you exercise. You now just improvise. For instance, I am a vegan, and the effects of stress may cause me to return to eat something outside of my diet. And there have been times when I've slipped. But there was a reason that I established this diet. Same for yourself and your family. You don't want to pick up too many bad habits, such as eating junk food or abandoning your fitness routine. It is going to stress you even more when you try to get back on track. Stay connected with your support. I know your physical interaction is limited, but we live in a time of advanced technology. We can call, FaceTime, connect on social media, play virtual games and challenges, as well as have virtual parties. Call someone you haven't spoken to in some time, just to reconnect or check in. Now is the time to reestablish relationships. Don't just sit with your thoughts and emotions. Express yourself to close family and friends. If you haven't already done so, establish a self-care routine and dedicate time each day for relaxation. So what is self-care? Self-care is regular efforts to take care of yourself and attend to your physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. It's taking a break from taking care of others or work school responsibilities to take care of yourself. It's the put the mask on yourself and then your companion concept. Your family cannot be well if you're not well. This idea of self-care encourages you to slow down and recognize what you need to basically survive in this situation. Most people don't think they have time, or even worse, do not feel that they deserve to take care of themselves first. That is going to be detrimental and damaging. And during this time, neglecting yourself can in turn compromise your ability to take care of others. If you are not around, or if you break down physically or emotionally, then how do you think that will affect your family? A health coach once taught me the importance of taking time to prepare and enjoy my meals. It is so self-gratifying. I went from a stand-up eater, or eating in the car, to preparing my place settings and sitting down to eat with others for a significant period of time. I hope that you all have meals together, but knowing some of my parents with whom I work, I know you're not. So please have meals together on most days. It's a time to decompress and have meaningful conversations with your family. Also, take the time to fully enjoy the meal that you or your spouse prepared or worked so hard to buy. Importance of exercise is self-explanatory, but more importantly, eating healthy and exercising regularly builds up your immune system and improves your mood. Stress, inactivity, and unhealthy eating habits compromises your immunity and prevents production of healthy cells or chemicals which keep us happy, which keep us well and happy. At this time, we have to fight harder against illness. Take a daily multivitamin and a dose of vitamin C. Drink enough water to flush away toxins, and take medicine as prescribed. Again, avoid alcohol, caffeine, tobacco, or illicit drugs. These are unnatural substances, and these impurities make it harder for your brain and body to do its job of fighting disease. Finally, sleep, sleep, sleep. 8 to 10 hours if you can, and stick to a regular sleep routine. Lack of sleep makes it hard for the body to rejuvenate itself and digest food. It will be harder to lose weight, stay focused on goals, fight off disease, as well as your concentration and memory are also compromised. And if you notice, when you don't get enough sleep, your mood is not the best. When we are all well rested, we are more motivated and have more energy. Self-care is not just taking care of your body, but also taking care of your mind. Our thoughts are the conductors of the feeling and behavior train. What we tell ourselves and how we process information will determine how we feel and what decisions we make. Negative thoughts often lead to unpleasant feelings, which leads to unhealthy behaviors. Challenge and change your thinking. Oftentimes, we are not aware of our thoughts and we pay more attention to how we feel. If you're feeling angry, sad, anxious, disappointed, confused, there's an unpleasant thought driving these emotions. The best thing to do in that moment is to identify what the thought may be. Challenge it by asking yourself, is this thought realistic? Or what evidence do I have to support that thought? And then come up with a healthier alternative. If that becomes too difficult, then I need you to find a distraction. Remember, negative thoughts are habitual. If you're thinking negative now, chances are you often think this way. It's time to change your way of thinking. You can distract your mind with simple mental activities such as solitary games or games with family and friends. You want to pick a game that makes you think a little. Scrabble, Sudoku, crossword puzzles. Also, reading is a great thought distractor. Becoming engrossed in a good story, and you will forget all about the troubles in your life. Set daily goals. Make sure they are realistic and easily accomplishable. Achieving 2 or 3 daily goals is gratifying and reinforcing. It contributes to building your esteem and increases motivation to achieve more goals. So these can be things like, I'm going to do laundry today, or I'm going to clean out my closet and donate clothes. This can be mowing the lawn. Very simple activities, but write them down and make sure you accomplish them by the end of the day. Spend quality time with family. During times of self-quarantine, you may want to establish theme nights, as it's something you and your family can look forward to. Movie Mondays, Game Fridays, Taco Tuesday. My absolute favorite activity is gratefulness journaling. I prescribe this to all my clients with repeated negative and self-defeating thoughts. It's tough to see the positive in the midst of challenging times, but positive things happen in your life every single day. Just take the time to notice them or smell the flowers. Make a habit of writing 5 to 10 positive things that happen to you or the things that you are most grateful for that day. It may be hard at first, but start with simple things such as having hot water, eating a good breakfast, getting a good night's sleep, your child finishing his or her homework. Then you can transition to things like good health, financial stability, being able to talk with friends, a healthy relationship. Finally, turn off the news. The news is designed to appeal to your emotions. They are re-looping the same content over and over, especially on news stations. They present stories and commentary to keep you intrigued, anxious, and sometimes angry. There are times the news is informative and pleasant, but most times the content is disturbing, as it is reporting the unfortunate events of the day. Why do you want all that content and energy to be repeatedly etched in your brain? You can create a habit of watching the news for a specific period of time early in the day. For instance, I usually only watch the news in the morning when I'm getting ready for work. That's the only time I watch the news. I do that so I can stay informed and I know what happened the night before, the day before, and I feel like I'm good for the day. Then turn it off and try to keep it off, especially if you're feeling the effects of stress. I know during this time we are watching the news repeatedly because we want to know what's going on with this crisis. We want to keep up to date on restrictions and regulations of the city. But again, try to limit your viewing as much as possible. And of course, try to limit your child's viewing as much as possible. If you have to watch TV, watch something pleasant or funny. Finally, self-care also involves taking care of your heart and your spirit. Spirituality. When I talk about spirituality, I'm not just talking about praying, religion, or going to church, even though that's a part of our spiritual selves. Everybody has spirituality. Every human possesses a sense of spirituality. It's about your self-connection and connection with a higher power outside of yourself. Sometimes it's the understanding and acceptance of things you cannot control, or it's being reminded about life's meaning and purpose. When I talk about your heart, I'm not speaking of your physical heart. I'm speaking of your Emotional health. Being emotionally healthy means we have a balance of emotions. Depending on the situation, we are constantly aware and can appropriately express our feelings about what's going on in the world. It would be kind of strange if we felt the same feelings all the time, or we were happy and excited even during this time of uncertainty. Even in one day, we can have a range of emotions depending on the weather, an interaction with a coworker or family member, or something we watch on television. Monitoring your mood is important. So know when you're feeling down for most days or anxious on, more days than not. And you can also notice when you're laughing, when you're crying, when you're feeling angry. Taking care of your heart and spirit involves taking care of your inner self and or remaining connected with a power outside of yourself in order to feel calm, comfort, and peace. Here are a few ideas on how to foster your spiritual and emotional self. Of course, prayer, meditation, and mindfulness are all ways to connect to a higher power or stay present with your own thoughts and feelings. Mindfulness is a popular technique for reducing stress and anxiety, and it's something that we commonly use in therapy. It is the practice of actively attending to the present. We can't change the past or predict the future, so why do we focus on those things so much? Mindfulness is about keeping our focus on what is happening right now, and it helps to relinquish that sense of control that causes frustration and guilt. There are several mindfulness and meditation apps which are helpful. The one I find particularly effective is the Calm app. It's a free app, but there are features you can purchase. It's great for beginners and provides options for various areas of concern, such as anxiety, stress, sleep, relationships. Mindfulness exercises are guided, and they play to relaxing music and sounds. These exercises range from 3 to 30 minutes, and the app will design a daily schedule for you. As you already know, journaling is my favorite activity. When you journal, you are detoxing your emotions, releasing all that emotional energy, and putting it all on paper. Find one or two favorite motivational speakers, and I know I said limit social media, but find a speech on their social media page or on their YouTube page and listen to remain inspired. Reading daily devotionals or self-help books are also effective. Music is the food for your soul. Not only listen to music that makes you feel good, but actually dance and sing to the music. Get your groove on. You will find that this activity will distract you and take your mind away from the problems of the world. Be creative. Designing, drawing, painting, even cooking or baking are great mindfulness activities. Meaningful conversations with your family and friends are great ways to stay connected with yourself, but also connected with the thoughts and feelings of others. It is important to feed our emotional intelligence, which is the awareness of your own feelings as well as the feelings of others. It builds mutual understanding, compassion, empathy, and keeps our relationships healthy. Finally, I can't forget our furry loved ones who provide us comfort and unconditional love. During this time, take your dog for a walk or maybe two. They are definitely happy you are home. So I gave you a few good tips to improve your relaxation. Now, some of those might have been a little bit unfamiliar, or you might be a little uncomfortable doing those things. So I'm going to give you a little bit more techniques that may be more familiar or easier to do. Remember, there's no prescription for relaxation. I encourage you to ask yourself, what do you like to do to unwind and distress? If you are stressed, worried, and or emotionally exhausted, you probably are not doing these activities enough. I'm giving you permission to do them daily. Give yourself 20 minutes, an hour, or even 2 hours to relax or engage in a pleasurable activity. Now tell me, when your day is done and you get the kids to bed, you wash the dishes, fold the clothes, do you just plop on your couch or recliner and turn on the TV and doze off? Yeah, that's what I thought. I do it too from time to time. So I want you to start establishing a bedtime routine that will ensure that you calm down your mind along with your body. So you may start by taking a hot bath or shower prior to bedtime, especially after a very long stressful day. Use soaps and lotions with calming aromas such as lavender, vanilla, jasmine, eucalyptus. Make sure your sheets and beddings are clean and fresh. Choose a favorite blanket or pillow and make sure your room is not too hot or too cold. Put on some really nice pajamas. It always makes me feel good. Again, reading, journaling, listening to soothing music, or engaging in a solitary activity relaxes the mind and body so it can rejuvenate. When the mind is active and not really digesting, when the mind is active, it's not really digesting your food and it can't attend to keeping vital organs healthy. Some other things to do in the evenings to relax and unwind, along with changing your bedtime routine, is going for an evening walk. It's about to get warm outside. Well, it is warm outside on some days. And so going outside, soaking up the sun, getting some good vitamin D is great. But also doing it at night is also relaxing and it helps to unwind. And doing it with your partner is also a good time to have good conversations, and it helps with problem solving, and it keeps you in a calm state when you're talking about something that may be stressful. Again, I want you to limit food and caffeine or exercise right before bed, because that's going to keep your mind in sort of an active state. It's hard for your mind to relax if you've just done some rigorous weightlifting before bed or you've drank a cup of coffee, obviously. And again, be consistent with your bedtime and wake times. Restricting your sleep to a certain amount of time is important to reset your clock. And when we have insomnia or any type of sleep problem, our clock is clock is off. Our internal body clock is off, and so you're gonna have a hard time falling asleep, staying asleep. You're gonna have frequent awakenings. You may have nightmares and things like that. So it's just set a time to go to bed, set a time to wake up, and do that every single night. And I hope that if you do that, you'll find that your sleep starts to improve. All right, we are nearing the end. Hang in there. I want to give you some effective coping strategies for your children and adolescents. You will find some of these are similar to adult coping strategies. These strategies remain pretty universal, but you can modify them slightly depending on your child's age. Remember, most children find social interaction enjoyable, but more importantly, you want to keep their usual support system relatively consistent. In addition to daily interactions and communication with your children, it is important to stay connected with their teachers and their peers. Prior to this crisis, they interact with your child just as much as you do, if not more. So it is important that they stay connected as much as possible. Listening to music, reading, drawing, and crafting feeds your child's soul. It keeps them calm and provides a good distraction from negative stimuli. Children can also meditate, practice yoga, and engage in daily exercise. There are also apps online, such as Meditation for Kids and Yoga for Kids, which offer fun activities for children. Playing outside, as well as playing board and video games with limitation, also provides a good break from strenuous school activities. Again, keep your child smiling, laughing, and pleasantly intrigued with funny videos or movies. Try to limit how much TV your child watches and how much time they spend on the phone and the internet. Remember, you want to be the one to explain to your child about what's going on. You want to be careful about content they are hearing that may be inappropriate, inaccurate, or unhelpful. Finally, watch out for the problematic behaviors such as being socially withdrawn, unhealthy coping such as binge eating, drugs, and alcohol, as well as signs of self-harm or aggression. Other unique family circumstances include having children who have disabilities or special needs. Children with special needs probably need more time to adapt to change in a routine, especially when switching the learning modality. They are now learning on a virtual platform, and initially there may be resistance or difficulty. This will definitely cause increased stress on the parents and the child. Come up with creative ways to teach children based on their needs and strengths. Use art or household activities such as cooking or baking to teach math, science, or social studies. I like to use my sister because she has young children, and it's particularly a challenging time for her because her children are in preschool and they're home and she's trying to come up with these creative ways to teach them their shapes and their colors and to follow directions. So she came up with a obstacle course. And so the obstacle course, the instructions are based on certain colors. My nephew is 2, almost 2, and 4. My nephews are 4 and 2. So I even thought about even a scavenger hunt, going outside, which encourages exercise, drawing pictures. We're going to find these things on our route, whether it be a certain type of flower or a certain type of shape or color, sign, ways to count while you're on this scavenger hunt. So keep it light, keep it creative, keep it fun. Don't overwhelm your child with too many tasks or assignments at once. Give them breaks to breathe, listen to music, take a walk, or engage in a pleasurable activity. And again, monitor your own stress. If you're feeling overwhelmed, then it's probably likely that your child is feeling overwhelmed. So it's important to take a break and to attend to your own self-care and come back to your child and be able to help them with whatever challenges they're facing. So I gave you a good amount of strategies to help with usual stress reactions in times of crisis. But there are times when the stress reactions prolong and develop into depression and severe anxiety, such as panic. If you're finding that your stress is unmanageable, it is best to seek professional help either from a physician or a counselor or therapist. You can find available professionals by contacting your insurance companies, primary care physicians, or through common therapy referral sources such as Psychology Today. Of course, if you're having thoughts of harm or there's evidence of aggression, violence occurring in the home, please call 911 or the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. The National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. Or crisis text line by texting TALK to 741-741. There are also, great virtual support groups online. The internet is a great source for finding groups within your community, groups within the Dallas area. In the next slide, I'll give you some helpful resources to find help you need in whatever area that's concerning you. Please do not hesitate to get any help. The longer that you stay with these emotions, stay with distress for too long, the more damaging it can be for yourself and for your family. As a mental health professional, I'm fortunate to have access to many resources. I've listed a few that I know provide a plethora of services. These organizations strive to maintain your physical and emotional safety. Calling them is confidential, and accessing their services is completely voluntary. Most services are free or offered at a low cost. Make sure you stay connected with your district to receive the latest updates on assistance available during this time, as well as the status of your child's return to school. Woohoo! We're done! I want to say thank you to the Cedar Hill Independent School District for the opportunity to share knowledge with you today. It is my hope that this information will be helpful but also motivating. Although there are things outside of our control, we can control how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of our families. If you feel the weight of the world right now is too much, please get help. There is no shame in getting support. It does not mean that there's something wrong with you. There are so many professionals out there that have the expertise, dedication, and care to get you through this time. Remember, we are all feeling stressed right now, even myself. Taking care of yourself is the first line of defense before taking care of the ones you love. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions. God bless you.